Now we're going to look at a repository that's called My Private Files. You can get to it by going to the navigation block, finding My Profile, expanding it, and then you will see a link for My Private Files. Another way to access My Private Files is to add a block. This makes it easier when you're creating your course. You would turn editing on, and now I will scroll down, and here where it says add a block, I select My Private Files. And now I have the My Private Files block. Just makes it easier to access, and I'll scroll it to the top. Okay. All right, now I have My Private Files. The block is located here. When you first start out, your My Private Files repository will be empty. In order to populate this repository, you would click on the Manage My Private Files button. This takes you to an area where you can store files that you want to access from multiple courses. For example, suppose I have several documents in this folder that are accessed by 3 of my courses. I teach 3 different courses, but all 3 rely on the same communication policy. I use the same grading rubrics. My office hours are the same. I have standard policies and procedures, and my rubrics. Those are the same for all 3 classes. My Private Files allows me to store these files in one location and link to it from any of my shells. The first step would be to create a folder in Moodle with these documents in it. So I will select the first file, shift-click to select the last file, right-click, send to, compress folder. And there it creates a zip file. I'm going to upload that zip file to My Private Files. So now we will return. I am currently in My Private Files. I'm going to create a new folder. I will call it Getting Started Docs. Getting Started Materials. I'm going to create the folder. And there is my new folder, Getting Started Docs. To go into the folder, I click on it. Now I will click the Add button. Since I am in Firefox, another option is I can drag the zip file directly here. So here's my zip file on the left. I can drag it right over the arrow. That's okay. And this works for Firefox, doesn't work for all browsers. So if you don't have that option, you can click the Add button, then click Upload a File, select Browse, find the folder, find the zip file, and then give it a name. And then I will click Upload this file. Now I have my Getting Started Docs zip file located in my Getting Started Docs folder. I will click on the zip file, and right above the file name there is an Unzip button. I will click the Unzip, and now it's expanded and all my files are here. I can now delete the original zip file since I no longer need it. there's a delete button right next to the unzip. Are you sure you want to delete? And I will confirm. And then make sure you click the Save Changes button. And now I have a folder called Getting Started Docs with the files in it. So now I want to be able to access the files from each of my courses. I can access my course one at a time by going to the navigation block and selecting the course from my list. So I will turn editing on. Now I can add a link to the files that are my private files. Instead of having 3 copies for each of my 3 courses, when I go to add the file, I'll give it a name, my office hours. I need to put a description. Now I will click the Add button, even though I'm not adding a new file. Notice I can select my private files. You can also manage my private files if you wanted to add more files like we did before. In our case, our files already exist in the Getting Started documents, so I can expand that. And here is the file I want, my office hours. I select it. Instead of making a copy of the file, I'm going to create an alias, which means it is a shortcut to the file. What's nice about this is if my office hours change and all 3 classes are pointing as a shortcut to that file, I only need to make the change to update the file in my private files, and all the links will be automatically pointing to the updated file. Now I click the Select This File button, and there, it looks like the file exists here, but you can see by this curved arrow that represents that it is a link. And then make sure you save and return to your course. Okay, there is the file with my office hours.